In this video, I'm going to write a function in C to check if one string is a substring of another string. So for example, let's say I have a string here S1 set to this is my test string. And then let's say I have another string here C1 set to test. In this case here, we would say that C1 is a substring of S1 because the string test is found in S1 right here. We could also say that C1 is in S1. That's another way of describing this problem. We're trying to find if one string is in another string. If the string C1 were ABC, we would say that C1 is not a substring of S1 because at no point in S1 is there the sequence of characters ABC. So to write this function here, let's include a couple libraries to help us. First, we'll include the string.h library because this includes the string length function strlen to find the length of a string. And that's going to be helpful for when we're working with strings. Let's also include the stdbool.h library so we can use the bool variable type with true and false values. The function itself will look like this. We'll say bool is substring char star check and char star string. So the function is going to return true if check is a substring of string. Otherwise, it's going to return false. So we'll provide a definition of the function down here. And the first thing we'll do is get the length of both strings, because we're going to need them to solve this problem. Here I'll say int slen is equal to strlen string. So strlen is the string length function, and we're going to get the length of string and store it into slen. And then we'll say here int clen is equal to strlen check. And we'll get the length of the check string and store that into clen. So the way we're going to solve this problem of trying to find the check string in the string here is we're going to have two loops, an outer loop and an inner loop. The outer loop is going to increment through the string one position at a time. And at each position, we're going to use the inner loop to try to identify the check string from that position onwards. So for example, if we're checking this position here, what we're going to do in our inner loop is check each character in the check string and see if it matches with the corresponding character from that position onwards in the string. If all the characters match through to the end of the check string, that means we found the check string in the string, and we can return true because we know it's a substring. If we reach the end of the string and we never find the check string, then we can return false because we know it's not a substring. Now we'll do one little optimization here. At this position here, from n onwards, there's only 3 characters left in this string, n, g, and period. But the string we're trying to check for here is 4 characters long. So it can't possibly fit there. And there's really no point in checking from that position onwards. So what we'll do is we'll only check the original string up to the position where the string we're checking for could still fit. And that's the first thing we'll do, is find that position. We'll say here int end is equal to slen minus clen plus 1. So basically, check up until the length of the string, but account for the length of the check string. And then here, we'll write the outer loop. We'll say for int I is equal to 0, I is less than end, I plus plus. And I is going to be our position in the string that we're checking from. And we're going to be checking for the check string at this point. The way we're going to check for the check string is we're going to assume it's there until we find a non-matching character at the corresponding character in each string. And at that point, we know that it's not there. We know that there's not a match. If we get through the entire check string and we never find a non-matching character, we're going to say that we must have identified it there. And at that point, we'll say that we have identified the check string as a substring. So we'll use a bool to help us here. We'll say bool check found is equal to true. So we'll start off with the assumption that the check string is at this position. Only when we find a non-matching character will we set check found to false in recognition of the fact that it's not there. So here we'll write the inner loop to check each corresponding character to see if they match. So we'll say for int j is equal to 0, j is less than clen, j++. And this second variable here, j, is going to increment from 0 up until the length of the check string. So here we'll say if check at j doesn't equal the corresponding character in the string at I plus j, then we'll set check found to false and we'll break. So here we're checking each character in the check string from 0 up until the end of the string. And if that character does not match the corresponding character in the string at the index I plus j, then we're going to set check found to false, because we've found that check is not at this position in string. And we can actually break at this point too, because there's no point in continuing to check if check matches, because we've already found that it doesn't. So if we reach the end of this for loop here and we never found a non-matching character, check found will still be set to true. And that'll be the case if check actually does have a match at this position I in the string. And if we found the check string in the string, we can just return true at this point. So here we'll say if check found is true, return true, because we found it in the string, we know it's a substring, and we're done. If we reach the end of this outer loop here and we never found the check string in the string, we can return false because we know it's not in there. So we'll say return false here. So now we can actually test this function out. Let's call it up here with S1 and C1. We'll say if is substring C1 S1, then printf C1 is a substring of S1. And we'll put C1 and S1 in place of those %s's there. Otherwise, we'll say printf C1 is not a substring of S1. And so we'll put C1 and S1 there. So we'll just give this a try now, and we should get that it is a substring. So we'll save this here and run it. And we get that test is a substring of this is my test string. What if we try ABC? I'll put ABC here, save it, and we'll run it again. And we get ABC is not a substring of this is my test string. And so we've written a function in C that can check if one string is a substring of another string. Check out portfoliocourses.com, where we'll help you build a portfolio that will impress employers, including courses to help you develop C programming projects.